Alright, in the last video, I talked about why I decided to learn traditional Japanese painting. And today I want to share with you or show you the materials I've been using over the past few years. I've spent a lot of time experimenting with different papers, inks, watercolor, mineral pigments, and trying to understand how each one behaves. I want to share with you what I've learned so far and compare how these different materials perform on Xuan paper. The materials I'll be using today, some of them are part of what traditionally are known as the four treasures of the study. These are the brushes, the Inkstone, ink stick, let me show you, ink stick, and of course the paper. Alongside those, I'll be using, like I showed you yesterday, and watercolor and fish glue. Make it uniform. Now we are going to start tests. For each material, I'll be doing exactly the same tests. Saturated color swatch, a gradient wash, and a few brush strokes. I'm going to let them dry, and we'll see which materials reactivate with water and which one doesn't. So before we continue with the tests, I think it's important to talk about the paper. This is Xuan paper and is very important in the traditional Chinese painting and calligraphy. This paper is made from a blend of plant fibers and it comes in three main types. The raw one, raw Xuan paper, it's highly absorbent. The half-ripe paper, which offers a balance between absorbency and control, and the ripe Xuan paper, which is this one, the one I'll be using today, and the one I've been using for the last year. This is treated paper, and it gives me a little more control, and it makes it easier to build up layers over layers. Let's start with the tests. Let's go with the watercolor. Watercolor is made from very thin grounded pigments. I'm going to do a swatch here, and it's mixed with Arabic gum. That's why it reactivates. So gradient, go line here. Going to test that line later on. Now we are going to continue with my favorite one, which is the mineral pigments. I'm just going to throw a few grains here. Don't need much. This is very concentrated. It's a very concentrated pigment. Drops of fish glue, and now we use our fingertips. Mix it up very well. Unlike the watercolor, this is just simply very finely rounded mineral particles, and they need a binder so they can be used. This so I use Nikawa, or I am using Nikawa because this is what I have right now. But there's also I'm sorry, this is not Nikawa. Sorry, this is fish glue. This is not Nikawa. I was going to talk about Nikawa. I'm using fish glue, and there's also Nikawa, but I don't have Nikawa right now with me. Let's start the test with the mineral pigment. Switch from my blender. There is an important detail about this setup that I'm going to explain later because it will affect this exercise. Go with the ink sticks, and for the ink stick we need the Inkstone. Just pour a little bit of water and we start grinding until we get the consistency of the ink that we want. Colored ink sticks are made by combining color pigments like this one with animal blue, which is Nikawa, and then it's compressed into a solid stick like this one. We dry the ink stick. It's important to dry because otherwise it will damage the ink stick. If if it stays wet. Mix it up really well. Let's do the test. I think it needs a little bit more grinding. I think it can be a bit darker, so I'm going to grind a little bit more. Like I said, practicing and experimenting and making mistakes. Let's try it. See, it has more pigment, it's more concentrated, and we're going to do the same line. So now we are going to let the inks dry very well, especially this one. The mineral pigment needs to be really dry, and it takes a bit longer comparing to these two. Let's continue with the tests. Just water over the watercolor and see if it reactivates, which I think it will. And there you go. It reactivates pretty easy. And it's because the Arabic gum. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to do another test here in this area and see how the line behaves. Okay, let's go. Well, I didn't touch the line, so it didn't reactivate. But for the sake of the experiment, there you go. It reactivates immediately. So let's continue with the tests. To continue with the mineral pigment, I'm going to wet this brush, my blender, and see if it reactivates. As you can see, it reactivates, but much less than the watercolor. And this is the detail that I mentioned earlier. Mineral pigments are mixed with Nikawa, and this is fish glue. I mixed it with fish glue. They're usually painted on paper that's been treated with dosazizing, which I don't have. And dosazizing is also made out of Nikawa. And this is, I'm using fish glue, and this is Xuan paper that it's not treated as well with Nikawa. I've already ordered a treated paper. It's Koso paper, it's a different paper than this one. And I'll be tasting it in the future. But even with that limitation, I still prefer to use mineral pigments for my paintings because of the result. The surface is softer, it's more matte, and it's much closer to the look I'm trying to achieve. That's why I'm sticking with mineral pigments. I'm still trying to solve this. I'm going to do the same experiment over here and see how it behaves. There we go. Now let's go with ink sticks. Let's finish the tests for this experiment. I'm going to wet my blender and see if it reactivates. Spoiler alert, it won't. As you can see, unlike watercolor, it remains very stable. Even once it dries, it doesn't reactivate the same way. This is because of the Nikawa, like I mentioned earlier. I'm going to do the same thing here, this same exercise. Passing over these lines, the ink won't reactivate. It is very convenient when you're painting and building layers. See, it doesn't reactivate. That's how I work with the ink stick. Actually, my setup, or the way I'm painting right now, everything that includes lines, the structure and the final line work of the painting, I'm doing it with the ink stick. And the saturations and the bokashi, or the gradients, I'm doing it with the mineral pigment because of the result, this matte result. It's the one I really like. So now that we finished the experiment, let's make a real quick summary of what we learned today. The watercolor performed exactly as I expected. It immediately reactivated, and it makes it very difficult to paint on multiple layers, and that's why I won't be using it. The mineral pigment, though, it performed much better although it's still reactivated slightly since I'm using fish glue as a binder or as a medium. This is a treated Xuan paper, but it's not treated with Nikawa, so that's why it reactivated a little bit. Still, it will be interesting to repeat this test once my treated washi paper arrives. The one I've ordered, it's a Koso size paper, so it will be interesting to see what happens. And lastly, this is the red ink stick. This is the one that gave me the most stable result. It stayed in place after drying and it behaved exactly the way I expected. For now, I think I'll keep using the same workflow, which is I do my line work with the ink stick, and my packing or my bokashis I'll be doing it with the mineral pigments. Well, we're still learning. I'm still learning, and I'm sure there are better ways to do this. This is the one I've been doing, and that's the way I've been discovering this stuff. But every experiment teaches me something new, and that's exactly why I'm doing these videos and what this channel is about. Thank you for watching. This is Experiment 002, and I hope I see you guys in the next video.